But we're going to begin tonight with the state of emergency after deadly tornadoes in the south. Look at this. At least 25 people killed in Tennessee, a massive tornado hitting while families were sleeping. In Nashville, a possible EF3, winds up to 165 miles an hour. Sunrise today revealing the staggering damage. Homes and buildings destroyed, tractor trailers overturned. Some families have lost everything. Thousands now facing a very long road back. Tonight, the new threat now moving into several states, and ABC's Victor Kendo leads us off from East Nashville.
Tonight, the death toll is rising after powerful tornadoes wreak destruction in and around Nashville. Sirens sounding in the middle of the night, power flashes illuminating the dark sky. Tractor trailers flipped on their sides. A fire chief rescuing this 7-year-old boy from outside his home. He was trapped by live wires.
For days, they've been trying to break through, but police are standing firm. Lesbos has Europe's largest refugee camp, and Greek authorities are determined to stop a second wave of migrants from entering. There is also strong resistance to new arrivals from many of the island's longtime residents. Some are taking drastic action to get their message across. A new unoccupied migrant shelter was set on fire on Tuesday. Right-wing extremists even blocked entry to migrants and humanitarian aid. During a visit to a Greek-Turkish border crossing, EU leaders announced 700 million euros in assistance. Still, Greece's prime minister called for more to be done.
The novel coronavirus continues to spread in Korea. More than 500 new cases have been confirmed since Tuesday. This brings the total number of confirmed patients in the country to over 5,300. And with 4 more deaths reported overnight, the death toll now stands at 33. Nearly 90% of the cases are concentrated in the southeastern city of Daegu, and more than 60% of the total cases are linked to community-based transmission. Daegu alone has more than 4,000 cases, and the surrounding Gyeongsang-Bukdo province has so far confirmed more than 770. Seoul has confirmed 1 more case, bringing the capital's total to at least 99.
Is the legendary co-founder of Apple patient zero for the coronavirus in the USA. Steve Wozniak tweeted that he and his wife were both sick after returning from a cruise vacation in Asia in early January. We had just returned from China and may have both been patient zero in U.S.
I know that if we returned today from Hong Kong with the symptoms we had, we would be candidates for testing and quarantine immediately.
He says during his trip, he came in contact with a tourist from Wuhan, the epicenter of the worldwide crisis.
How close were you next to that person who said they were from Wuhan?
Oh, only for a second, just, arm to arm, for a selfie.
Wozniak's wife, Janet, says her illness was so severe, she started coughing up blood.
I literally thought I was going to die.
The Wozniaks flew home to California before the coronavirus outbreak became front page news.
Now over to Syria. This is where escalating tensions between Turkey and Russia, they continue to rise as the two countries are in direct conflict over rebel control of northwest Syria.
Well, Scotty, the conflict continues as Turkey said that it shot down a Syrian warplane just over northwest Syria. Now, fighting is escalating since this is now the third Syrian warplane that Turkey shot down since just Sunday. Increased airstrikes took place near the countryside of Idlib, where fighting in north has intensified at the crossroads town of Sarakeb. Now, the area is now controlled by Russian military police, and it's changed several times within recent weeks. That's given its access to Idlib city and even Aleppo. Over the weekend, Turkey launched Operation Spring Shield against Russia-backed Syrian forces.
The Afghan Taliban celebrating after the United States agreed to withdraw all troops within 14 months in return for security guarantees. The very next day, the militant group announced attacks would resume on Afghan security forces. The United Nations says more than 100,000 civilians have been killed in the crossfire since this conflict began. So it's people here who know they are most at risk if fighting again escalates between the Taliban and Afghan security forces. Before they'll talk to the Afghan government, the Taliban want 5,000 of their members released from jail, a provision in the US Taliban agreement, a dialogue precondition rejected by Afghanistan's president on Monday.
Well, turning now to Washington, where the Supreme Court will hear a major abortion rights case today. People crammed, or rather camped out overnight ahead of the arguments.
This is the first major abortion case the court will hear since President Trump appointed Justices Neil Gorsuch and Brett Kavanaugh to the bench and shifted the court to a conservative majority.
When the justices announced their last abortion decision, supporters of abortion rights cheered. Their victory may be short-lived.
It's totally possible that we would have to close.
Kathleen Pittman is administrator of Hope Medical Group for Women, the Shreveport, Louisiana clinic at the center of the next major battle over abortion rights.
You're required to have a doctor session.
Pittman's clinic is challenging a Louisiana law that tightens regulations and says doctors must have admitting privileges at a local hospital.
A $700 car seat is tonight being pulled from shelves after a catastrophic crash test. The dummy was sent flying. In the real world, it would have been deadly.
An image no parent can unsee. Catapulted from a child seat, this mannequin didn't stand a chance.
The footage is horrific. There is really no other way to describe it.
It's exactly what the high-end car seat is designed not to do. Instead, the iTravel signature model by manufacturer Joy, today labelled by the NRMA as a catastrophic failure. The forward-facing ISOFIX model passed the minimum Australian standards, but the NRMA conducted its own testing. Experts shocked to learn it ever made the shelves.
On to our next story now. After Brexit, the UK passport will return to its iconic blue colour. The introduction has already started, and from mid-2020, all new passports will be blue.
The first blue passports are being issued this month, following the UK's departure from the European Union.
It's the first time in almost 30 years that the blue passport will be issued and replacing the burgundy one, which was rolled out in 1988. Britain was under no obligation to adopt the burgundy passport like other EU countries, but did so in unification. And now the post-Brexit blue colour signifies independence and sovereignty, two of the key areas voted for in the EU referendum.